the government of Belarus is facing a range of new sanctions following the forced rerouting of a Ryanair flight in order to capture one of the passengers on board. He is Roman Protasevich, a 26-year-old journalist who's a well-known critic of the Belarus head of state, President Lukashenko, and his regime. The incident was described by Ryanair's boss as state-sponsored hijacking. Now, the Ryanair flight was on its way from Athens to Vilnius in Lithuania when it was forced to divert to Minsk, the capital of Belarus. On arrival there, Mr. Protasevich and his girlfriend were arrested. Now, the British government has ordered planes to avoid Belarus airspace, and member states of the European Union are considering their own response tonight. Our Europe correspondent Jean Mackenzie has the latest.
Armed police greet the arrivals. On board the plane, Belarus is accused of hijacking. All to capture this young man, Roman Protasevich, a journalist and political refugee. He fled Belarus 2 years ago, only to be forced back home yesterday under the most extraordinary circumstances by a regime he told his fellow passengers would execute him. His father has described his son's capture as a terrorist act.
We hope that he will cope. We hope that he will stay himself, not give in to any of their tricks. We are afraid to even think about it, but it's possible he could be beaten and tortured.
This evening, authorities have released a video of Roman where he makes various confessions. We're not showing it as it looks like he's been filmed under duress. He's bruised and says police are treating him correctly. Roman is wanted by authorities for running an opposition news channel on the social media platform Telegram. It's used to organise protests in Belarus and to broadcast them. The protests exploded during last summer's election when Belarus's long-time leader, President Lukashenko, claimed yet another disputed victory. Back then, we witnessed peaceful protesters being dragged off the streets of the capital. Since, hundreds of journalists and opposition politicians have been imprisoned. Roman is the latest target.
They endangered lives of 171 passengers just because of Roman Protasevich. And we were sure that to flight between two UN member states is safe, but it turned out that it's not.
The chief executive of Ryanair this morning spoke of his anger.
This was a case of state-sponsored, it was a state-sponsored hijack, it was state-sponsored piracy. I think it was very frightening for the crew, for the passengers who were held under armed guard, had their bags searched.
Speaking in the House of Commons earlier, the Foreign Secretary said Mr. Lukashenko's government must be held accountable for its reckless behaviour.
The scenario as reported is a shocking assault on civil aviation and an assault on international law. It represents a danger to civilian flights everywhere.
The UK government has told airlines to avoid Belarusian airspace, while UK airports have suspended flights from Belarus. Tonight, EU leaders have decided similar, to ban Belarusian planes from using both their airports and their airspace, determined to show that hijacking a plane does not go unpunished. EU leaders have just finished their meeting here in Brussels this evening, and they have agreed on a list of measures against Belarus, these consequences that we've been hearing about all day. So first of all, there is the retaliation in the sky. Belarusian airlines are to be banned from using not just EU airports, but also EU airspace, and EU carriers are being told not to use Belarusian airspace. Now, this will, in theory, harm President Lukashenko's regime, but it will also hurt ordinary Belarusians who want to leave the country. Secondly, more sanctions are on the way, and they are to be decided as soon as possible. Now, the EU has already sanctioned dozens of individuals in Belarus, including President Lukashenko himself. They've so far had a limited impact. It will be interesting to see now who is on this new list of sanctions, and then we will get a better idea of how far the EU is prepared to go to punish and pressurise the regime.
Jean, many thanks for the latest there on those deliberations in Brussels tonight. Jean Mackenzie.